Welcome to the Metalheads podcast with the heavy metal strength coach and Shrub666. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Metalheads podcast. I am the heavy metal strength coach and I'm joined by my brother in metal, Shrub666. How you doing, man?
Good morning. I'm good. Yourself?
Excellent. I actually managed to turn up on time for the video chat today, which hasn't been the case for the last 2 weeks. There were no cats vomiting everywhere, which was really nice.
And you didn't delay making your breakfast.
Exactly. So we were able to. Well, I tried to play some of my game as well, but that wasn't to be. But never mind. Now, Shrubs, what have you been listening to this week?
Well, first of all, the new Foetal album, Gluttony. Well, what can I say about this album? Honestly, this is definitely one of the better sort of like grindcore death metal bands around at the moment. And this is definitely one of the best albums of that genre that I've listened to this year.
Yeah. It's
got groove in it. It's got style in it. It's got blast beats in it. It's got everything that you would want from a grindcore death metal album. Mm-hmm. Even just the song title from literally the opening song is called "Take Your Face for a Shit." It kind of sets it up as to how it's going to be. They can be relatively serious in some of their lyrics, but they do it with a good sense of humour.
Is this a band that's been around for a while?
They've been around for a little while, since 2005. So 15 years they've been going now.
Oh, wow.
So Rob Harris, the drummer, who I've met several times and got drunk with at least a couple of times, he also drums for black metal band Necronautical. And yeah, they are really good. And the vocalist, Derek Carley, I've just written down here, the vocalist, he's also the vocalist in Burial and Wolfbastard as well. So, who Burial we spoke about a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and then Wolfbastard, I don't know those.
Yeah, I don't know them, but they're meant to be pretty decent. But again, they're a good band, a great band live as well. Yeah, proper good sense of humour. Great in a tiny venue because you just got bodies going everywhere to it. It's just hilarious fun. Yeah. So and their music fits. I mean, one of my favourite tracks of theirs, it's an older one. It's Service Station Masturbation. There we go.
Oh, that's incredible. I love it. All right. What else has been filling your ears?
Well, another one which is another couple of friends of mine actually, who were former members of BongCauldron, who are on, I believe, a sort of permanent hiatus now. Ben Corkill and Jay Hope, bass player and drummer for BongCauldron, and the guitarist from a band called Nomad, who I don't really know, but both bands were on APF Records, and they've started up a hardcore band called War After War. And their 6-track EP called No Change came out, and wow, it's great. Mm-hmm. Really, really good. If you like that old school sort of like 80s, early 90s hardcore, a bit of Sick of It All, Agnostic Front, Cro-Mags, Biohazard, if you like that sort of style, but more with a sense of English irony in it at times. Mm-hmm. Really, really good. Just absolute solid 6 tracks, straight down the line, hardcore.
Yeah. Are these a relatively new band to you as well, or have these been?
Yeah. Well, they've only come about since I think either last year they started talking about doing this sort of thing, and then it got recorded I think earlier this year before the lockdown happened, and so yeah, they're very, very new. I mean, they've kind of summed themselves up, and this is a statement from themselves saying, short, fast, aggressive songs formed in resistance to dickheads by dickheads. Which and to be honest, that truly states exactly what War After War are about, really.
Okay.
So yeah, really good hardcore. Like I say, literally from the first song, I've got this kind of Biohazard feel about it.
Yeah.
Especially sort of like State of the World Address era and Urban Discipline era Biohazard. So yeah, and then you get a bit later on a little bit of Agnostic Front and Cro-Mags coming in. So yeah, really good.
I've not actually listened to any Agnostic Front yet, which is, as a metalhead, that's a bit of a crime, I think.
It is, and it isn't. I mean, it's good hardcore. It started off really punky, then got a bit more into the aggressive side later on in their career with Agnostic Front. So and sick of it all. If you like that type of style, that hardcore type of style, then yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I enjoy.
Check out those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what else has been filling your ears?
A band called Wake, a Canadian band. Started off being a kind of grindcore band, but now very much more got a foot in sort of like that black and death metal.
Oh, diversity.
So, which is really good, and they do a bit more expansive stuff. So, I mean, I was sitting there struggling to think where I'd sort of like heard the style before, because there's a few little mixtures of stuff in there. So it was a bit like, imagine a little bit of Misery Index doing black metal instead of death metal. And then a bit of Blood Incantation, but again, with a bit more of a hint of black metal style vocals. And then there's also sort of like some of the expansive stuff of Schammasch, but with hardcore thrown in and a bit of grindcore. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a mashup of all of that sort of stuff, but really good, good quality. And this morning I checked out some of their earlier stuff, and because I couldn't believe that when I was reading up on them that they started off as a grindcore band. Yeah. And I'm thinking, how do you go from grindcore into this sort of like, good quality black and death metal? It just, that jump doesn't make a lot of sense. But when I listened to their earlier stuff, you could definitely tell they were grindcore. And then you could hear the vocals weren't quite that sort of like guttural grindcore vocals. They're kind of moving into the black metal a little bit with the slightly more raspier sound. And so yeah, but then they just get better as musicians, and so the songs change, and you can kind of hear it as it keeps stepping through. So yeah, it's really good quality. So
sometimes it can go the other way, can't it? Like it seems to lose what the anger that band was all about, but I guess this is completely different, and they're really maturing into their own sound.
Yeah. I don't know what made them change or go down that route at all, but yeah, it's just really good quality. I mean, and the new album is well worth a listen for anyone that likes that kind of black and death metal.
Yeah,
it's probably the best way to describe it, because that's kind of where it sits now.
Okay, fantastic.
But yeah.
All right. Any other bands this week?
No, not really. Just a few other songs. I mean, one that that's been on my playlist on a regular the last week is Birdmask and Set Me on Fire. Now, Birdmask is the vocalist from Zeal and Ardor's original type of. It says pop type stuff that he does, but it's not really. It's kind of more acoustic solo person. But in this new song, you can definitely hear the influence that he's taken from his writing for Zeal and Ardor back into Birdmask, and it's just a really good song. And his vocals, if you've ever listened to Zeal and Ardor, you'll know what his clean vocals are like, and they're astonishingly good. Yeah. And he can do it live as well, ridiculously well. Really? So so that's been on my playlist. Also, the new single from Uada called Djinn, which is the title track from their album that's being released in a couple of months, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's either next month.
Fucking hell, that's good.
Yeah, that Djinn is so good. I was a little bit when I first heard it on YouTube, because it got released on YouTube first. When I heard it on YouTube, the drums weren't very clear in the mix, So I don't know whether it was the compression on YouTube, because the versions come out on Spotify, the drums are so much bigger and louder.
Yeah, I'd not seen it on YouTube, so I didn't spot any issues. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, it was definitely a comment that kept popping up on the YouTube when you were reading through the comments, and I'd noticed it as well. But then when it came out on Spotify, the drums were so much clearer. So it must be some sort of compression issue that when it went up to YouTube that made it different. But
yeah, probably.
I don't know. But yeah, it was. But that's been going around a lot on my playlist as well. And Enslaved's song is still sitting in there as well.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be the Metalheads podcast without a mention of Enslaved somewhere.
No,
they've randomly become the most mentioned band on here. It's
yeah, them and Rotting Christ, I think, keep popping
up. I think Uada have popped up maybe every single one as well. But yeah, any other new releases or live streams or anything you've seen this week?
No, this week's been pretty quiet. I mean, there has been some new releases out on Friday, but I haven't got round to
for people to check out.
Sorry,
I said pretty quiet. We've got a whole page of bands for people to check out. So
yeah,
don't worry about that.
No, there was some new releases that came out on Friday, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and listen to them because I've obviously been focusing on the ones for this podcast. But yeah, we'll do them next week. So.
This week I've been listening to Wardruna a hell of a lot, and
nice.
the lead singer has got so many different side projects and has done so many collaborations with other people. A song called Kavandi, I don't know if that's exactly how you say it, just
right.
An incredibly moving song. But what we've been trying to do is create a birth playlist,
right?
And so for Tori's birth plan and everything. So loads of Wardruna have made it on there. So there's been a lot of really mellow stuff. A band that I discovered called Bloodred Hourglass. I don't know if you've heard of those guys, but they're a death metal band from Finland. Are apparently quite well known for the live performances. They did an album called Godsend, and it is just so good. When I saw the actual band, when I saw the album cover, I didn't expect much from it whatsoever. But then when it kicks in, there's just like some fantastic, good old-fashioned death metal, which I really enjoyed.
Nice.
So let's see what else. And then obviously a Rotting Christ album, which was one of the older ones. What's it called now? Let's see. I'm not sure if you've heard this one. It is... Where are we? Oh my God, they've got so many. I can barely even... Thanatifora Anthology. There we go. And oh no,
Theogonia.
There we go. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Really good. I don't know if you were already a fan of Rotting Christ in 2000. Oh, of course you were. You're probably a fan of Rotting Christ in the early 90s.
Not quite, no. It wasn't quite early 90s, but certainly late 90s I started finding out about them. Yeah.
And they released a song this week. I think it was this week anyway, called Fire and Flame. What did you think to this one?
Yeah, really. It kind of sounded like it come off of the Heretics recording session. Because it sounded like you could just drop it on the Heretics album. You could just drop it right in the middle of it, and you wouldn't have thought that it had been missed off, if that makes sense. It just fits perfectly into that. So yeah, it's a really good track. Hopefully that's leading to a new album
coming out.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, I hadn't heard that they were recording, but then I hadn't looked either. So, but yeah, it's really good. I quite enjoyed it. You know, like I say, it fits into that whole Heretics atmosphere that they had on that album. So
I think as a band, they've got great momentum at the moment, coming from like 2 fantastic albums in a row. I can't remember the album before that, whether that was the same as well, but they haven't released a bad album for so long, if ever. So I think they should strike when the iron's hot if they can.
Yeah, they're exceptionally consistent with their recordings. Obviously, as time's gone on, they've had a little bit more money because obviously they got bigger and better. So the production quality has stepped up each time. But in terms of quality of songs, yeah, they're exceptionally consistent. So yeah,
and it wouldn't be an episode of our podcast without mentioning Rotten Christ as well, because they're in my ears all the time. All right, buddy.
That's how we got introduced to each other, was me wearing my Rotten Christ hoodie to the gym.
Yeah, as soon as I saw you wearing that Rotten Christ t-shirt to the gym, I was like, right, this is going to happen, and then the rest is history, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed.
All right, buddy. So in terms of classic albums, that's essential listening for our listeners to check out. Let's have an album. Let's have an artist. Let's see what you've got today.
Yeah, Raining Blood.
Yes, that was going to be mine as well today.
And we've had no collaboration over that all week at all either.
No, definitely. That was going to be mine today as well. I love it.
I was sitting there trying to think of one all week going, oh, there's so many to go through. But it was just like, let's go back down that route again. Because
what's so good about the album, Shrubs?
Well, the fact that it's a 29-minute long punch in the face. Quite literally, it's got some of the best thrash anthems ever written on there, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, just the opening track itself, Angel of Death, which is a song all about Josef Mengele in Auschwitz, and then finishing with that terrific thunderstorm kicking straight into Raining Blood. I mean, it's just an astonishing album from start to finish. Songs like Piece by Piece is on there, Postmortem, Criminally Insane. All these songs, anyone who's seen Slayer live would have seen at least two or three of these songs every time they play. I mean, Angel of Death is pretty much given, and so is Raining Blood. But outside of that, you still get 2 or 3 tracks off this album that are played on set lists constantly. It never stopped.
I remember the first time I saw Slayer live, and they didn't play Angel of Death. I was devastated for about 2 years until I saw them again.
Wow. I can't even think of a time of seeing Slayer that they haven't played Angel of Death. And certainly Raining Blood anyway. Without a shadow of a doubt, every time that will get played. But yeah, for me, and also it was done in 1986, and they got Rick Rubin to do the album, to record it. Now,
I didn't know that about that one.
Yeah, and Rick Rubin at the time was more known for dealing with Def Jam. Well, he is Def Jam Recordings, which is a hip hop rap label. So to get this extreme metal band at the time moved from a metal record label, Metal Blade, which is one of the biggest metal labels around to this day, to move from them onto Def Jam was a bit of a shock as well. So, I mean, yeah, it didn't make any logical sense, because Rick Rubin's like a big producer for hip hop and rap. I think he's Public Enemy as well. I think it was Public Enemy that he actually dealt with in the 80s then. So yeah, to step from doing Public Enemy to doing Slayer, hell of a style change.
Yeah, exactly. I think he went on to diversify more and more from there.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really do too much after that back into the metal genre as such. Rick Rubin. He has been called up by a few people to do stuff since, but not too many. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and he did the next couple of albums from Slayer as well, I think.
I really
so they were certainly on Def Jam for South of Heaven anyway.
What did it do for metal when it came out? Can you remember the impact that it had?
No, because I kind of got into it about a year and a half, 18 months, 2 years afterwards.
Yeah.
So
was it instantly recognised as an amazing album from what you remember?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. It certainly, once I started getting into that more extreme side of music in sort of like 88, that it was one of those albums that you had to go back and get.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of the ones you had to, if you wanted to understand that scene much better, you had to get involved with that album. It was the same with Master of Puppets and Megadeth's Peace Cells.
Yeah.
Those were the quintessential thrash albums that you know, that in the 80s you went and got, you know, if you didn't have that in your collection, you weren't into thrash. Wow. Really. It was, pretty much pretty much that way. And then obviously it depends on where you went from there. You could have gone down sort of like the punk crossover, kind of hardcore crossover stuff with likes of DRI and stuff like that, which kind of sort of like, you know, the skater thrash type stuff. Suicidal Tendencies were then starting to come out of that as well. So, but yeah, you definitely had to own those 3 albums. If you didn't have those, you didn't really have the cornerstone of thrash as it was known then. Really.
Can you remember the first time you saw Slayer live?
Probably, I think it was in 1991, Clash of the Titans tour.
Okay.
At Wembley Arena.
And how was that?
Astonishing, because it was a co-headline with Megadeth, because Megadeth had just released Rust in Peace, and I can't remember which Slayer album it was now. It wasn't South Heaven, it was the one afterwards. But yeah, it was, you know, when you got, I don't know how many were in there, 15,000 people or something in there watching Slayer. Suicidal Tendencies, Testament, Megadeth.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because Testament had just released Souls of Black, and
what a time, what a gig.
And Suicidal Tendencies had not long released Lights, Camera, Revolution. So,
oh my God. I mean, you should have just stopped there, mate.
And Rob Trujillo was the bass player in Suicidal Tendencies at the time as well, long before he joined Metallica. So,
wow. I think today's recommendation worked really well, seeing as though we both had the same one. So,
yeah.
Shrub 666, thank you for joining me, my friend.
No problem. Speak to you later.